For the first 8 rounds of the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series, we've seen incredible racing action. And as we get ready for the final road course event of the year in Montreal, expect plenty of excitement.
Canadian Tire Series.
Fast race cars, big crowds, party atmosphere. When they come to play, they come to play hard.
A land rush start. Everybody jockeying for position.
This is an exciting little speed plant. The action is intense.
And the fans go crazy.
These guys are hungry to get it though.
Which lap pays the money?
The one with the checker, baby.
Definitely one of those races you want to remember.
And now, coming up, it's race 9 of the 2012 NASCAR Canadian Tire Series presented by Mobil 1. Welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the running of the NAPA Autopro 100 here on TSN. And leading them into that first turn is a former winner, now on pole for a second time, J.R. Fitzpatrick.
JR, you've got the pole for this event again. You were a winner here in 09. This car is better, you told me, and is the key to winning, getting out front and staying there?
Yeah, I'm really excited. You know, the car's been phenomenal, so I think we're going to be in good shape. We just got to keep the brakes on, keep tires on, be there for the end, and we'll have a good run.
All right, J.R. Fitzpatrick, good luck today. He's going to start on pole position. He's had a win in this season, but now he's looking for a second win. He opened the season at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with a victory. He's been close, but he's had heartbreak a few times through this season, most recently in Edmonton when it was a last lap crash that took him out of contention for a victory as he was trying to pass the 22 of Scott Steckley. Austin Dillon, a couple of weeks ago, contacted Fitzpatrick Motorsports to get him some extra seat time here in Montreal, and a great qualifying effort in this number 4 machine.
Yeah, we've had a good weekend, man. This is a really fun series, and glad to be out here having some fun in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. So it's going to be a fun weekend. This is a great experience for me, so hopefully it helps us in the nationwide race later on today.
What's the most important thing you've learned here on road racing in this car?
I think in these cars is save the brakes. You know, we have a lot stronger brakes in the nationwide series, so hopefully we can be around at the end to give them a shot at the end.
It's great to go fast, but it's important to be able to stop these cars here in Montreal. We'll see if Austin Dillon's got some learning to do this afternoon.
Hello, Canada. Always excited to be back in Montreal here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Always nice to be have the once-a-year visit with Dave and Billy. Forgive me if I think that we've stepped into the Wayback Machine, because this looks awfully familiar when you see this front row, and there's DJ Kennington lurking just behind.
Absolutely. If you look at the front row, J.R. Fitzpatrick and Andrew Ranger, two of the most talented road race drivers in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. Not only have they traded wins here in the past, they've also traded wins on road courses in 2012. This is just going to be a dynamite charge to the first corner and great race.
DJ Kennington, of course, is a former series champion in 2010, and he's leading the standings again by 37 points. And so, obviously now, he's trying to protect here. Billy, what does he have to do?
Well, step one was qualifying up front, Vic. You know, when you're up front, you're out of trouble. You got to remember 34 cars here with a new point structure. If he was to go to this race early on, it would be devastating and wipe out most of that points lead. But DJ and his crew are prepared, and they made a statement in qualifying. We're here to race. We're going for wins. We'll let everything else take care of itself.
Well, it's not the only statement he has made in 2012. The 2012 season opened at the newly renovated Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and the charge to the front was furious. The number 84 Equipment Express team, led by driver J.R. Fitzpatrick, held off a late challenge to take round 1. Race 2, the runways of Old Mirabel Airport. iCar is flat, technical. Quebec native Andrew Ranger drove his GCMI Dodge to victory lane. He and Fitzpatrick would sit top of the points table. Back to the ovals now, and the number 17 Castrol Edge Dodge would unload quietly from the trailer. DJ Kennington, the St. Thomas native, will make it 3 race wins, 3 different drivers. Now the Kennington clan continues. The number 17 Castrol Dodge powers to win in Delaware. And then the checkered flag soon wait for him again as he conquered Vernon. Now it was on to Edmonton, and here is where Lady Luck was on the 35-year-old side as he drove through the smoke in a late race crash to take his 4th win in a row. Now on to Saskatoon, the black and gold Dodge outdueled Mark Dilley. This was win number 5 in a row, a record that he now shares with NASCAR legends Richie Evans and Ricky Craven. But that streak would end at 5. because it was Andrew Ranger who conquered the rain and all the other NASCAR competition for his second win of the season. And it came at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières.
DJ Kennington, you've had some rough outings recently here in Montreal. Is it about survival today and thinking championship?
We're always thinking championship, Todd. This Castrol Edge Mahindra Tractor Dodge has been good all weekend, and we're just going to go out there and do our thing that we normally do, and we love winning races, so we're going to go out there and see what we can do.
Good luck.
Thanks, pal.
And when you compare the three, Kennington, Ranger, Fitzpatrick, not a lot of difference between them, but it is those 5 wins this year. They are the kings of Canadian racing, Todd.
Andrew Ranger on the front row, but not on pole for today's event here in Montreal. Happy to be back in front of your hometown fans, I know, and looking for another big day. Is the first corner the key for this race?
Yes and not. Yes, because I want to be the leader, but not because it's a long race. A lot of things can happen. It's hard on the brake, hard on the engine. So I probably try to be smooth in the beginning and to be there to the end.
Good luck today.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, a closer look at this legendary Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This is the NAPA Autopro 100 on Canada's sports leader, TSN.
Spark plugs versus basic plug.
After heavy rain yesterday, weather is cleared. It's a little bit on the cool side as you take a look at the pole sitter, J.R. Fitzpatrick. It is 2.7 miles, 4.3 kilometers. They'll do 23 laps and 100 kilometers in total. So let's have a closer look, Billy, at this Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Well, turn 1 and turn 2 on the start are very important. Very tight technical racetrack. Coming up off of 2, a little right-hander there to the right. Not a lot of action there. A braking zone for some passing is up in turn 5, or coming out of 5, I mean, because it's a sweeping right-hander, sets up 6 for the braking zone. The exit of 7 is very important because, once again, turn 8 braking zone is an excellent opportunity. But the big action, turn 10, it's a hairpin. You can dive down in there. It's a high-speed braking zone. Get the inside position, and you get the spot as long as you don't overcook it. Down through here, not a lot of stuff going on. But here, turn 13 and turn 14. We have seen in the past all the action, especially when you get down to crunch time. We've seen a lot of action in turn 13 and 14.
The legendary Champions Wall, of course, that has collected so many. Let's take a look now at this starting grid. 34 cars, brought to you by Pizza Pizza.
Top 2 broke a track record. Both J.R. Fitzpatrick under the existing track record set by Andrew Ranger back in 2011.
DJ Kennington, our points leader, starts in the second row. We talked about the statement. LP Dumoulin doing a great job in the 47.
Pretty stout row number 3, a 2-time series champion in Scott Steckley, and Robin Buck has finished 3rd here twice.
Kerry Mix, the Mount Albert veteran, sharing that car this year with Mark Dilley and Trevor Siebert from Williams Lake, British Columbia.
Next row will bring us Austin Dillon in the 4-car, making his first NASCAR Canadian Tire Series start, and Wonder rookie Martin Adois driving the 90.
On row 6, there's Timmy Hill from Maryland, the 2011 Nationwide Rookie of the Year. On row 7, one of 4 drivers to start all 71 NCATS races. That's Ron Beauchamp Jr. Jeff Lapsevich has 6 road course wins in his career. As we go back a little further, row 9, make a note of Jason Hathaway. Second in Edmonton, blew a motor. He'll go to the back. On row 10, Xavier Coupal from Saint-Jean, Quebec. He's 21. He's a future terrific driver everyone talks about. Familiar names, Southern Ontario Stock Car Racing, Scannell. Howie Scannell Jr. is there, along with Eli Arsenault. It's Clute and McComb on 12. The 93 Stanley Cup winner, Patrice Brisbois, makes one of his rare starts, along with Riley Siebert. His dad is up on row 8. It's all Quebec on row 14, 13 Quebec drivers in the field. Couple of 19-year-olds, Stacy and Dowler on row 50. Couple of Rookie of the Year contenders in Scholz and Jackson. And then the 2010 Rookie of the Year, Derek White, rounds out the field. But remember now, we do have Jason Hathaway going to the back because of that blown motor.
heartbreak for that team because they really have picked up their performance here in 2012 and looking for a good finish here today.
So here we go. Pace car leaves the track. We're ready to come around. 30 and 40. Watching now for the starter, Sean Gibbs. Interesting, the outside spot has been taken by Fitzpatrick. Ready for the green. Hold on, boys. Hold on, boys. Hold on, boys. And here we go. We're underway. The NAPA Autopro 100.
Fitzpatrick automatically jumps out to the front. Ranger will slot into second. Here we go, 3 wide, deeper in the field. Look at that charge into the first turn. Everybody's going to get through 1 and 2 cleanly.
Boy, Billy, that's a big surprise.
Well, you know, you got to remember the rule that the leader starts the race, and the second place car cannot beat the leader to the start-finish line. So you take the lane that's the quickest, and the outside carries momentum down into that corner.
And this is where we talk about on the backside of the circuit. These are the twisty bits. This is the technical stuff. But this is where you can kill the brakes.
Well, you overdrive the car, get down into the braking zone, you got to lay on them really hard, and it heats them up. And then you got to remember how many times these rotors are going to heat, cool. And yeah, they're having at it up front. That, you know what? They might call this a long race. I call it a sprint race. You're going to see racing all over this place.
Interesting that LP Dumoulin has gotten ahead of DJ Kennington and picked up that third spot.
It is pretty interesting, but Kennington just trying to keep his nose clean. As long as he's towards the front of the field, it's a good chance he'll keep out of trouble. Now, the last 2 starts here in Montreal have not gone his way. You heard Todd allude to that in the top of the show. He's finished 18th and 28th over the last 2 seasons here in Montreal.
So coming up to the hairpin for the first time, and out they come, and this is where Fitzpatrick has talked about his car. Billy, he just loves. He says it's scary fast.
Well, he said when he pulls into third gear and gets on the loud pedal, the thing just rockets off. Talk about rocking. See him use the curbs? You got to be careful. You'll knock a shock out of the thing. You don't break a sway bar mount. But sometimes you need to use the curbs to get the car to turn the way you want it to turn.
And already that front row is starting to put a little bit of space between everyone as they go through that Senna S. And this is interesting because you would think it's flat, but no, this is a little bit of an uphill grade. Todd Lewis.
Some of the leaders are going to have a very quick pace, particularly J.R. Fitzpatrick and Andrew Ranger. Talk to a number of competitors in row 2, 3, and 4. If they take off too quickly, they'll let them go a little bit. They'll keep them in sight, but settle into a comfortable pace. So watch for the 22 of Steckley, the Kerry Mix car, the DJ Kennington car, and Trevor Siebert. They'll keep them in sight. Robin Buck as well, but also keep them in striking distance.
Well, you saw Trevor Siebert have a quick look inside Kennington. This is where Kennington has to play smart, doesn't he? If, in fact, he wants it that badly, Trevor, you have it. I just need to finish.
Oh, for sure. Right now on this course, because it's so tight and confined, spotters don't play a big role here. The drivers have to watch their mirror and listen for those cars coming, because in a race car, Vic, you can hear him coming when he sticks his nose down in there.
You see the 66 of Robin Buck, too. We talked to him earlier today in the paddock area. He finished a little bit further back in 20th, but he was saying he had food poisoning that day. He was on an IV, plenty of bed rest, and he just wasn't feeling well enough to race. Today he says, you know what? I feel good. I'm going after the win.
That white car in third spot, that's LP Dumoulin, the 33-year-old from Trois-Rivières. The Rookie of the Year a year ago. Second at Trois-Rivières this year on the pole and looking very comfortable on the road.
Take a look back a little further. Kerry Mix in the 0-2. I mentioned off the top. On the ovals, that car is driven by Mark Dilley. And today, Mix, he's really got that thing hooked up. He's right there waiting for something to happen.
And let's remember now, Mix is a former winner here. First year in 07, 4 top 5 finishes, but a limited season for him.
Yeah, he finished second here, and he's complained that the car just hasn't felt right. He needs to get the feeling of the car to be right for him to be fast. Today, he says, this is the best that 0-2 car has felt all season long, so look for Mixon to come to the front.
Man, I tell you, if you ride those curves, they're going to send you for a ride.
Well, you know, if you catch them just a little bit wrong, they will shoot you across the racetrack. More importantly, as I said before, more worried about tearing out shock mounts or sway bar ends because you're jolting the suspension of the race car very hard every time you slam one of them curves.
So as the front row pulls away, Fitzpatrick, Ranger, it's Dumoulin followed by Kennington. And you saw Siebert still looking inside. There's carry mix. And then followed by the defending champion, Steckley. Nice bunch, very experienced bunch of cars right there, but just unable to keep up with the front two.
This coming to these road courses, Vic, just tells you how good these stock car drivers are. Most of them grew up on the short tracks of Ontario and Quebec, and look what they can do with a stock car turning right and left. These guys can race with anybody. Match them up with anybody. I'm telling you, these guys in Canada got it going on.
Well, you think about it, in particular, in J.R. Fitzpatrick, an oval guy, but, you know, six of 7 of his wins have come on the road, and he just loves the roads.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. J.R. Fitzpatrick is fantastic, just as home on the road courses as he is on the ovals, where he cut his teeth. You know, he started racing in the old junior CASCAR, almost go-kart series, and then moved up into the bigger cars. Of course, his father raced in the old CASCAR days, and J.R. Fitzpatrick sort of assumed that seat as the years went on. But he is definitely one to watch. Very, very smooth. And you know what? He finished 5th here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in a nationwide series car last year. Don't forget.
You saw earlier Joey McCallum, the 26-year-old out of Ajax, had lost his hood. But boy, it's a big gap now.
That's about a second back to the second-place driver of Andrew Ranger, and then you look back to LP Dumoulin, and you're almost 4 seconds back from the leader. But keeping an eye on the 2 Nationwide Series drivers, the 2 American invaders, if you will, today. Austin Dillon running in 11th position, and Timmy Hill has lost a little bit of ground. He's running in 15th, but still doing well, keeping their nose clean.
You know, talk a little bit about what Austin was saying to Todd about the difference in brakes compared to the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series, which he says he has to protect a little bit more as compared to the car that he'll be in a little later in the Nationwide.
Well, a couple things different. These cars a little less horsepower than the Nationwide cars. The Nationwide cars have a little higher center of gravity. They roll around a bit more, but more importantly, you can drive them deeper into the corner because they have the bigger brakes. So when these guys are jumping car to car, their braking and shifting points are changed.
DJ Kennington getting racy there, sitting in 4th position in the Castrol Edge Dodge. He took a look at LP Dumoulin, but decided to back off and fall back into line. But I don't think the 17 is all that content to just sit in line and watch the leaders get away.
They cross the line to complete lap 5. We'll do 23 here in Montreal. The NAPA Autopro 100 on TSN. The pole sitter J.R. Fitzpatrick from Ayr, Ontario, continues to lead and stretching it out. Even on Andrew Ranger, who started beside him, as Ranger almost does a 4-wheel slide. And then you have to look way back to pick up LP Dumoulin and DJ Kennington as they've stretched it out.
Well, it's a bit of a surprise up front. Not really. J.R. Fitzpatrick on the chip every lap, but the surprise is Andrew Ranger not keeping pace. We had talked in the garage area yesterday that during practice, the brake pedal was a little soft on the Ranger automobile. So I got to figure he's either saving the brakes or maybe they're not just what he likes.
Okay, you saw that yellow car go by, the number 66 of Robin Buck. He was saying that here's Buck with all his experience, having come through all kinds of open wheel racing. Remember him from Formula Atlantic. You know, the brakes we talk a lot about, they've gotten better, but here he is, after all his experience, still saying the new equipment, he's having a tough time adjusting to.
Well, because he runs a part-time schedule, the technology changes every year, so every year he's catching up. When these other guys are already using all the brake package and stuff on the oval, so they've already got it managed. So temporary schedule makes things awful tough, even on the veterans.
Billy, you talked about a little bit earlier being a sprint race, 23 laps, relatively short. No pit stops today. How's that going to affect, especially the leader? You look at J.R. Fitzpatrick getting out so far. How's he going to protect those tires?
Well, that's just it. He's on the chip every lap. But the crew has already done their job. They've managed the tires. They looked at tire wear throughout practice, and they pretty much know what they got. JR will run it just as hard as he needs. Remember, he's got that veteran crew chief on the box calling the shots. Don Thompson Jr., no slouch behind the wheel and doing an awesome job as a crew chief.
You saw Trevor Siebert out of Williams Lake, BC. My goodness, you think back to Trevor with Players GM and the Indy Lights and Formula Atlantic, and now his son is racing here as well. Back up to the leaders. J.R. Fitzpatrick and Andrew Ranger still trying to chase him down, Todd.
keeping him in sight, but not worried that he's a little bit ahead right now at the moment, Vic. Andrew Ranger in this 2017 had a lot of brake problems, as you guys alluded to, up until Trois Rivières. At that point, they basically ripped out the entire brake system on the car, redid the entire thing. He was successful at Trois Rivières. He's fine today. He's keeping JR in sight and saving his stuff for the end.
But you have to be close enough. It's one thing to save it for the end, but if you're not close enough, what are you going to do with it?
Absolutely, and history shows us that we have had a few cautions here over the 5 years the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series has been to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, an average of 2.8 cautions to slow the field for about 6.8 laps. So the crew chiefs are going to factor that into their race projections and say we may get a late race caution, and that might be what Andrew Ranger is looking for.
Okay, coming through, this is Siebert. Now just have a look here because we're going to look for the number 4. There it is, going by. That's Austin Dillon from Louisville, North Carolina, the grandson of Richard Childress. Okay, so now you think Silver Spoon, but man, he's been made to work. Billy, I mean, think about where he's come through. The trucks, where he was the Rookie of the Year in 2010. Then he was a truck champion, and now he's full-time nationwide. Give him credit, needs the seat time, makes the deal, and he's in a terrific car prepared by Fitzpatrick.
Oh, for sure. These young fellas, Grandpa made them work for everything. Started out in dirt cars where they learned their car control, ARCA Series, Truck Series, Nationwide Series. Very well thought of young men, and they're really good wheelmen as well.
And you know what? He's only run a handful of road course races in the Nationwide Series this year. Finished 23rd at Watson's Glen and 21st at Line Rock Park. So he really does need that seat time, needs that experience.
But while the cars are different, there are things that you're learning all the time, right?
Well, it's all about braking. Oh, we got one blowing up.
Oh, and it's big. It's Dumoulin, too, sitting in 3rd spot in the WeatherTech.ca 47.
So the driver from Trois Rivières pulls it off to the side. Now we'll see if, in fact, it just goes local yellow unless he's left some oil on the track. We'll see what they've decided to do.
Well, Vic, you can see the trail of something where he pulled off the asphalt onto the grass. That motor's obviously got a window where it's not supposed to be.
And that has to hurt for that race team. Now a full course caution is out, so J.R. Fitzpatrick will see the yellow flag from starter Sean Gibbs as he makes his way down the front straightaway. But Dumoulin coming off a 2nd place finish at the GP3R in Trois Rivières in front of his hometown fans. And here in Montreal, he was hoping for a good outing, and that's not going to happen.
We have our first caution. It's the NAPA Autopro 100 on TSA.
And
still waiting for the signal if we're going to go green because the sweeper truck is still on the course trying to clean up that fluid from LP Dumoulin. Todd?
Frustrating end to your day, LP, after such a good run at Trois Rivières a couple of weeks ago. What happened? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, we were going for another podium here with the WeatherTech.ca Belmar number 47, and unfortunately we had a rear end problem. I think it jammed up, and it just ended up awarded really short. It's unfortunate for the team because they've been working really hard to give me a good car. We felt a little vibration all weekend long, but I mean, sometime in those cars it could be normal. Unfortunately, that wasn't that good for us today. So the WeatherTech.ca at Belmar is going to be back for next race.
Good luck this afternoon in the Nationwide event.
Yeah, we'll have a good one.
Does he feel any better because it's not the motor?
Well, it's a little cheaper, that's for sure. A gear set's about $1,500, and the motor a whole lot more.
Well, that car prepped out of the Scott Steckley stable, and it is definitely a well-prepared car. And hey, it's tough to see Dumoulin without a smile on his face because all weekend long he was sort of, walking on his toes because he was so happy. He was running so well in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series and doing great things with essentially an oval course car in the Nationwide Series. So he was trying to get as far up the ladder as he could in that series. So he was just having fun, and he said, you know what, I'm having a good time.
As he continues to talk, okay, it's always raised, Billy, in these situations. That car prepared by that team. So if you're Scott Steckley, for example, 2-time series champion, are you worried now? Are you talking with somebody in the pit saying, what happened to that car that we prepared?
Well, not necessarily. It will be in the back of their mind, but parts do break. And when you talk about the rear end versus the engine, there's really no common ground. Bearings are under a tremendous amount of stress here on the road course. throttle brake. So it's just one of those things, a part failure.
Could it be, in fact, the way the car was set up? Could it, in fact, be just this course and how tough it is on gearbox?
Well, it's, again, just a part failure, but this place is tough on equipment. You're shifting, you're on the brakes, you know, you're left, you're right, you're doing a lot of things. But these parts, they heat up, man. It's just oil and bearings. That's all it is.
One thing this is going to have an effect on is the point standings. LP Dumoulin coming in 5th in points, but he was just 2 points up on the 60 of Ron Beauchamp Jr. And Ron Beauchamp Jr. is quietly having a very, very good day here in Montreal, sitting in the 11th position.
And again, we make mention that it's Fitzpatrick and Ranger, the front row, followed by the current championship leader, DJ Kennington. We do get word now that the lights will go out on the pace car, and they will get the green flag this time. All right, so you sit back, you buckle up, you tighten up. What are you thinking about?
Getting back into the rhythm. You know, you got to get through turn 1 and 2 clean one more time. You know, cautions breed cautions. At least we talk about it on the ovals, that's for sure. But turn 1 and 2 is so tight, they're going to go down in there, and if they're smart, they're going to get single file. I'm not going to say race car drivers aren't smart, but they certainly are competitive, and if they think they can squeak through too wide, they'll certainly try it.
So you can see the visor goes down, and of course, mentioned earlier, brakes have cooled off, tires have cooled off. To bring those up before you start anything aggressive?
Yeah, that's why you see the cars weaving back and forth, try and get the dirt off the tires, the gravel and the speedy dry and those little bits of rubber, try and clean that off before you have to get on the gas. But I was a little bit shocked. We made it through lap number 1 and those first 2 or 3 corners without any incident. It'll be equally as shocking to see on this restart if everything stays okay.
Well, you see the sweeper has done its job, backed itself into its parking spot behind the wall. Championship points coming in. DJ Kennington leading by that 37 over Ranger, due in great part to that 5-race win streak. And when you think of 37 points, number of cars, basically what he's got is a full race lead.
Essentially is what he has. And this is exactly the position he was in Edmonton. He was sitting in 3rd. He was minding his own business. And then all of a sudden, a late race mishap between the top 2 drivers of Steckley and J.R. Fitzpatrick. The seas parted, and DJ Kennington went on to his 4th straight victory at that point. So Kennington, sitting in 3rd, could be in the catbird seat if fireworks happen between these top 2.
As we look back from Andrew Ranger, you see Robin Buck there in the number 66. All right, you're Ranger, you're here, you love this place, you've won here. Is this the moment now, if you can? Granted, you have to wait for Fitzpatrick to make the move. But is this the time? Is this the place if you're Andrew Ranger?
Absolutely. This was not the time I'd have took the outside lane, because Andrew Ranger now, we're almost halfway in through this race. He will drop that car down into the braking zone as hard as he can drop it. This is go time right now.
There you see the cones. That's the start point. That's where Fitzpatrick can lead them, and he does. We're back under green. And Robin Buck tucks himself up into 3rd spot. Steckley looks around the inside of DJ Kennington, but now the chase is on.
And you saw J.R. Fitzpatrick bunt the field before he went green, and here's problems, and that is Ron Beauchamp Jr.
We got through 1 and 2 cleanly the first time, but not this time, as getting collected. Ray Courtemanche in that number 29.
No caution yet, and it looked like everybody able to get going. I think the 71 of Patrice Brisebois also off track, might have caught the tire wall just a little bit, but able to drive away. But again, that's what we talked about. Heading into that first turn, it's so tough to stay off the car beside you.
Here's the replay, down into the corner.
Oh, Timmy Hill got touched by Benoit Teague, and then into the 60 goes to 73.
Yeah, but did you see Dylan also up there trying to stick his nose in? Here we go! Trying the outside, going into the hairpin. Not going to work. Maybe now he'll be able to slingshot. Ranger trying to take Fitzpatrick. Won't get it done.
Wow, I told you it's go time.
So Ranger almost had him going into turn number 10, but up on the outside, and look what J.R. Fitzpatrick does here. He pinches it off on corner exit, and that stops the run for the 27.
I was waiting for him to diamond it off and drive through in the bottom, and J.R. Fitzpatrick knows all about that move and shut down the lane.
And a lot here he comes again. This time he may have him going into 1-2. Senna. Turn coming up. He's got the inside line. Ranger's going to pinch him. Pinch him to the outside. Here they go, and he's coming right back, Fitzpatrick. Oh, and Buck is right there, too.
Fitzpatrick has talked about how happy he has been with his brakes on that Equipment Express Chevy, and the 84 just showed how strong he is there.
The other thing JR talked about, I was talking about the restart. He likes his new gearbox setup, and he proved it on the restart. He was able to get out in front 4 or 5 car lengths, but now he's back under attack from the 27.
And look at Buck down to third. Look at Steckley has moved up, the defending series champion. He's up to fourth, getting by DJ Kennington, and then right there is Kerry Mix.
And Scott Steckley has yet to win on a road course, but he's been oh so close. He sat on pole at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He finished in third at Circuit iCar for race number 2. He's been knocking on the door, but if you remember a few years ago here in Montreal, he ended that race on his lid.
It's interesting, Billy, how this works out. Well, there you got, we saw him collected up. It was Ray Courtemange out of Laval in a Construction Denham Bonsai Dodge. But it's interesting, after that little bit of flurry, now, okay, we've sort of tried, we're just going to back off, relax a bit. It has an ebb and flow to it.
It's, I don't know about backing off, relaxing, but they certainly are getting after up front. Robin Buck, the big winner on that restart, was able to jump himself from 5th to 3rd.
Oh, goodness, up and over, and manages to gather it back as they really do paper that wall.
Oh, they totally get so close to it. If you put 1 foot wrong, you're going to slide out and you will slap that wall and likely break something. But if you look at drivers 3rd through really 6th, they're able to keep pace with those top 2 now. You remember in the beginning of the race, J.R. Fitzpatrick opened up the lead on Andrew Ranger. Now he's unable to do so, and the rest of the field is keeping up. There's Roy and Benoit T go around in turn.
Benoit T getting together with Martin Roy. And we do have him stop Benoit T. And this is 1 and 2.
Holy moly, the 73 just overcooks the corner. A touch too much rear brake, and he just hammers the 90.
That 90, a car prepared by Mario Gosselin, a veteran of the Truck Series, of course the ACT Series as far as late models go. And you know what, he's been showing Martin Roy really the proper way to get around these circuits, and it is shown, unfortunately, getting caught up in somebody else's mess there for the wonder rookie, as I like to call him, Martin Roy.
All right, we passed the midway point, coming again into the hairpin. Fitzpatrick continues to lead. So further to what Dave was saying about him not being able to pull away, and this is where he's supposed to show his strength, Fitzpatrick. Has the car changed now through the first half?
Well, Vic, we talked about what happens when you go through a heat cycle in these tires, and some cars will change little, some will change a lot.
Looks like Teague in the 73 unable to refire the Chevrolet. Sits just off course in turn number 1, but that's in a pretty dangerous spot. And you see the hand out the window from J.R. Fitzpatrick, and that indicates to the driver behind that, yeah, the yellow flag has come out.
Well, they just can't. I mean, that's the dangerous spot. We could have cars collected and careening off and catching him. And you remember back in the day, that all used to be grass through there before they put the asphalt down. And I remember back in the Formula One days when we were here, we'd see cars catching and flipping up and over each other. It's always a great place. One of the really true, wonderful racing corners. They call it the Senna S, turns 1 and 2, and then heading uphill and onto the backside here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Definitely a great place for action. Here in Montreal, as Teague has shown us, and Martin Roy was able to refire the 90 and get going. He only sits in 13, so he really didn't lose too much in that altercation with the 73 car, but of course this will bunch the field again. And looking down through the running order, Xavier Coupal in the 18 car again, making his first start in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series, is doing a wonderful job. I mean, this is not an easy transition. He started his career in go-karts in St. Hilaire, just outside of Montreal, and moving into these full-bodied race cars is a tough transition. There he is.
Yeah, Coupal out of that Team Canada racing program that is sponsored by Ron Fellows and the retired General Lou McKenzie. We're under yellow for the second time here in Montreal. With a little help, a little push, and Benoit from Bois-Châtel, Quebec is underway, one of the 13 Quebec drivers.
Hey, Billy, you see the nose all crumpled up on that 73 car. How important is aerodynamics here?
Well, it's very important here. Anything over 30 mile an hour speed is important. So this is a very high-speed technical racetrack. That will slow that car down dramatically.
Well, he's dropping fiberglass all over the racetrack in the Camusino.net Chevrolet as he tries to catch up to the pack to try and get this race back underway.
He has great road racing experience throughout North America. The president of the Quebec Auto Dealers, Benoit.
Well, as the field reforms here, you got to take a look up front. Austin Dillon sitting in 7th for this restart. So that's going to be the 4th row inside. Inside to me is the preferred group as long as we get single file. He might pick himself up another spot. But right now he's riding behind Kerry Mix, one of our wily veterans. Not a bad guy to show you the way to the front.
And Timmy Hill is up back inside the top 10 as well. The youngster from Maryland, the youngest rookie of the year of any NASCAR National Series, winning at the age of 18 last year. And Dillon is in front of Jeff Lapsevich. Timmy Hill is just behind. These are some pretty accomplished road race drivers here in Canada, so these kids are showing that they're pretty comfortable behind that wheel.
Well, both of them, they might be kids, but they've got a ton of experience behind them. They've done a good job to get this far. And you know what? Their team owners have done the right thing by getting the extra seat time here in Montreal.
We'll go one more as the pace car will lead them around this 2.7 mile, 4.3 kilometer circuit. A big Canadian Tire logo on the front hood of the two-time and defending champion Scott Steckley out of Milverton, Ontario. I don't know if it's been the season that he expected. It's just that domination by Kennington and winning 5 in a row has really overshadowed the defending champion.
Yeah, he's got 11 wins in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. He's definitely no slouch, but an interesting story between Kennington and Steckley. Steckley, the champion last year, taking the crown from DJ Kennington the year before. And Kennington told him at that banquet, he said, at midnight, I'm coming for you. Enjoy it while you have it. But he says, I want that trophy back.
Absolutely. At midnight, the clock struck and the new season begun. And Kennington was on a mission from there. Dave White and him went to work looking at everything on their race car, suspension, steering, motors, transmissions, and this year they've proved that they're prepared for every battle.
As has the 22 team, though. They've shown that they've gained some speed in tracks that they weren't normally very fast at. I mentioned the season opener at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Scott Steckley always hated the road courses. He's like, you know what, I really don't like it. And he showed he can run faster. He sat on the pole. He's been quick here in Montreal. He finished 2nd in 2008. So still keep an eye on that 22 car before this race is over.
Well, in the previous restart, J.R. Fitzpatrick was in a real battle with Andrew Ranger, unable to really pull away as he did at the start. Todd?
And J.R. Fitzpatrick on this restart will take that same outside line headed into corner number 1. He likes it. He's comfortable with it. And just check with the team. There's still a little more left in that car, and he has something for the end of this one.
Billy, is it a case that you can drag race down into turn number 1 and hold your car in that position so you have the preferred line for turn number 2? Is that what J.R. Fitzpatrick is thinking?
Well, what we talked about, the NASCAR start rule is the leader cannot be beat to the line. So that means he should be able to carry more momentum. And you've got to go from the outside apex to the inside. So on the outside where he is, to turn in quickly and properly, as long as Ranger doesn't get his nose in there.
Okay, I've seen the marshal out with the flag up, finger up, lights have come off the pace car, and so we're ready to go. Because they're on that back side, the extra marshals are in place here, of course, at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and we're getting ready to go. And just expect again, Ranger and Buck to be right there with him. Steckley will press. Mix is likely to press. The question is, what does Kennington do, the current championship points leader, in 5th place?
Well, he's going to try and stay out of trouble, Vic. He's going to press because that's what he does. He loves to win races, but he also has to be very aware of his surroundings. Right now, we've already seen the 47 drop out with mechanical problems. That's going to drop him out of the top 5 or 6 in points for sure, maybe out of the top 10. Kennington cannot fall into that same scenario.
Fitzpatrick, of course, controls the field for the restart. He dictates where the green flag is thrown to a certain extent. I mean, there are cones on the wall and lines painted on the wall, and that is sort of the restart zone. But you saw the 84 coming off turn number 14. He bunched the field a little bit, slowed them up, and then he jumped on the gas. He's so confident in that motor, how fast it is in that 84 car, that he's able to jump to a gap before they get to turn number 1.
So here they come once again up to the end of this back straight, about 2,300 feet, just shy of half a mile. There goes the pace car, and here they come. 13, 14. We've got Fitzpatrick on the outside. Ranger on the inside. Watch for Buck in behind in the yellow. Watch for the Canadian Tire car of Steckley. And here we go, under green again in Montreal.
And again, he gets a great start out front.
Robin Buck gets a little sideways. Steckley takes advantage, and he'll pick up 3rd.
Kennington up on the outside as Kerry Mix jams the nose of the Ford underneath, and they'll go side by side. Austin Dillon, the big loser on that restart, it appears. He's been shuffled back a couple of positions.
You know, it's interesting. When you walk around the garage area, they talk about brakes and setting them up and how much do you want at the back. And Buck seemed to maybe get a little bit too much in the front. It locked up. He got the back end light, and Steckley went around.
Well, that's just weight transfer, Vic. These things started with a full load of fuel. We're halfway, so we've burnt half the fuel load off these cars, as they will only go 32 laps maximum on a load. What happens? The driver has to be aware as the fuel load comes off, and he has to start cranking the rear brake back out of it so you don't get around backwards going into the corner.
Here comes Ranger to the inside of the 84, and he might have the lead.
Now he's going to try to slingshot up the inside. Here he comes. Ranger will hold on. Andrew Ranger has taken the lead here in Montreal.
And most importantly, only 5 laps to go this time by. So Andrew Ranger definitely sitting in the catbird seat, but here is the 84 in that draft, heading for turn 13. He'll duck to the inside, but back off.
Not this time. We'll think about it. Oh, they bounce it around. Steckley comes. Robin Buck is there. Mix has moved up into 4th, and DJ Kennington now in 5th. And we have another full course yellow coming out.
And it looks like Jared Whistle going slowly down the back straightaway, but it'll be interesting to see if the full field passed the start-finish line, and I don't think they did.
Think about this. It's explained to us like this. That whole train has to cross start-finish line, and I don't think that happened. So we revert back to last completed lap by NASCAR rules, and in fact, if they did not complete the lap, JR will get the lead back.
Now, if you watch the Sprint Cup or Nationwide Series, a number of those tracks will have different timing and scoring points around the circuit. The NASCAR Canadian Tire Series has one timing and scoring position, and that is the start-finish line. So J.R. Fitzpatrick will be your new leader, but with a renewed wake-up call, he's now keenly aware that that 27 can get by, so he's got to do something special in these dying few laps.
And we're told that it's Dexter Stacy in the number 55, the WJS Motorsports Dodge out of Kanawaki, who pulls it off. Similar spot, of course, where we saw LP Dumoulin go off and claim to fame. Has he been around forever? Seems like he's just 19. Youngest ever driver at the age of 16. Made his debut at Saint-Eustache back in 2009, and he's left a mess.
This is going to be a long cleanup. That is a lot of fluid, and it looks like oil to me.
So tippy-toeing through, you can even, oh my, even the pace car slowing down to a bare walk through there.
Yeah, because Billy, if you take a hot tire through oil, even if it's sitting on the racetrack, it will pick it up, and that'll sort of change the compound of the tire, will it not?
Well, rubber is a sponge. Come on, we go through water and oil like that, it's going to absorb a little bit of it, and you're going to have to clean them really well. I'm telling you, I've seen tires pick up oil and scrub them all you can. In that first corner, you go to turn the thing into the corner, and it doesn't turn.
That's definitely something you do not want to see, especially here.
Now, so it's a little unfortunate, obviously, for Andrew Ranger, who makes this a good pass. Setting him up, going outside, looking outside, and then darting inside, going into the hairpin.
Well, he set him up, Master. You're riding on board. Listen to him. He's right down into the braking zone, so smooth. And listen, that motor was dead silent. He does something in a race car I haven't seen done, and I call it dead stick. When he kicks that thing into neutral on corner entry and uses just the brake pedal so the rear end doesn't shatter, because that's the hospital hop, and it never happens, Andrew. He neutral sticks that thing, gets down into the braking zone, and then you see him pick it back up. You heard no engine sound out of that car when he made the pass under braking. Back on the loud pedal, took the spot.
You and I were together when we chatted with Fitzpatrick yesterday. That was what he thought his car was so good. He was talking about the fact that he was getting no hop out of the back end of his car. In fact, he was talking about 4 inches of travel. That he thought he'd actually sort of like a sail go up the back, but he had nothing in response right there.
No, he really didn't. And he had mentioned that they had set his car up a lot softer, maybe something more akin to an oval setup, Billy. The back end a lot softer, the springs back there a lot softer, trying to get the horsepower down. And that's what J.R. Fitzpatrick was excited about coming into this race, because he was able to get through those corners and get on the gas and get it to stick. As Alex Labbe in the 36 car, in his first series start at Circuit iCar, just race number 2 this season, he came home 6th. Looks like he's got a little bit of damage to the front end of that Dodge.
He's another of the young drivers who are making themselves known here in the NASCAR Canadian Tires. Here it's Alex Labbe from St. Albert, Quebec. The cleanup continues for the big oil spill of Dexter Stacey, who goes out. We've seen a lot of this speedy dry going down. Todd?
And this cleanup is expected to take quite some time. Now, this has got the teams thinking we'll have a green-white checker finish. But under NASCAR rules, they may have up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish. So Andrew Ranger will maybe have 1 opportunity or 2 or 3. There's plenty of time left right now here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve to have multiple attempts if necessary. So the teams have to prepare. Which line do you choose if you're J.R. Fitzpatrick headed into corner number 1? It's worked out on the outside so far, but Andrew Ranger has shown he does have the ability to get by.
And Billy, the reason for the multiple attempts is because of what happened just here. The train has to get by. So if in fact it does not get by, something happens, well, now we're going to try again. Am I right?
Correct. And the NASCAR rule says once the white flag is displayed, the race is considered complete. So if we go green, white checker, we get green and the mess happens again, and they haven't got back around, we will try it again. If it happens again, we'll try it again. But here's now, okay, so I'll take the driver hat off, put my crew chief hat on. Fuel, baby. How many laps are we going to run here cleaning this up? Fuel could become a concern if we go all 3 green, white checkers.
That's true, because theoretically you could run an extra 9 laps with 3 green, white checkers. Now, it is up to NASCAR discretion, so if they start beating and banging, tearing up race cars, I think NASCAR will just say, you know what, this one's complete, we're not going to try another one. But, hey, if they try it and there's a single car spin or something like that, then we'll try it again.
Well, we're expecting more of the same. We've seen it right from the green flag, this battle of the front row with J.R. Fitzpatrick on the pole to start, and Andrew Ranger having a look here, tried a different line going into the hairpin. This was coming out of 13 and 14. And look at this over the curbs and running him up against the wall, sticking a nose in now, 1 and 2. Still unable to get it by. This is where Fitzpatrick was able to stay with him and fight him off, and then eventually leading to this.
Well, you've seen the 84 car wiggle just a little bit in braking, but the 27 straight as an arrow. Look at no sound. Hear that? Dead stick. There's something trick about what that young fellow's doing.
It's funny because you think back to what is said, and sometimes it sounds cliche. We've got to save it for the end. But the way he's able to save it, Andrew Ranger, to keep his car together, pays off big time, and it may have just there. Now, he's going to have to give it back, granted.
Yeah.
But we saw just how good he is at conserving the car.
Yeah, absolutely. And J.R. Fitzpatrick is not going to give it to him, not in the least. But it's a tale of two incredibly different styles. J.R. Fitzpatrick is always flat out. He says he only knows one speed, and that's to the floor. And Andrew Ranger has shown how smooth he is inside that race car and how able he is to wheel it through those corners.
And I hear that, Todd, you've picked up a broom and you're going to help with the cleanup.
Not unless you're going to pay me to do that, Vic, but they are going to red flag this race because the cleanup is going to take so long. So, Billy, it looks like that fuel equation is going to come out of it because everybody's going to stop on the racetrack. They'll clean it up, get it ready for racing again. Because it's in such a precarious spot headed into the hairpin, they want to make sure that this is all cleaned up and it's not too slick when they go back to green.
Now, Billy, though, the question, you're sitting there, you got a hot engine, you got hot tires, and you're sitting and stopped on the racetrack. How's that going to affect things?
Well, you always worry about shutting off a race motor when it's hot, but they've had a couple pace laps. Everything's chilled out a little bit. But once again, now it's going to sit there and percolate. Will it refire? Or is the fuel vaporized in the carburetor? There's a lot of things can go wrong when you go to refire a race motor.
So we're under red as the cleanup continues. When we come back, will we go green, white, checker?